Look up at the night sky, and somewhere out there is a small, reddish point of light that humans have been staring at for thousands of years, wondering the same question every single time. Could we actually live there? Not just visit, not just plant a flag and leave, but actually live there, breathe there, grow food there, raise children there. For decades, scientists have taken this question seriously enough to model it, argue about it, and in some cases build entire careers around answering it. So could we actually terraform Mars within the next 100 years? The honest answer is far stranger and far more interesting than a simple yes or no. Before getting to the science, it helps to understand exactly what terraforming means, because it is a much bigger task than most people assume. Terraforming is not simply building domes or shelters on Mars. It means transforming the entire planet, thickening its atmosphere, warming its surface, and eventually making its air breathable enough that humans could walk outside without a suit at all. It is planetary engineering on the largest possible scale, and Mars presents three specific, brutal obstacles standing in the way. The first obstacle is atmospheric pressure. Mars's atmosphere today is roughly 1% as thick as Earth's. Stand on the Martian surface unprotected, and your blood would begin to boil at body temperature within minutes, not from heat, but from pressure so low that liquids vaporize at normal body temperature. Any serious terraforming plan has to solve this problem first, before anything else matters. The second obstacle is temperature. Mars averages around -60 degrees Celsius. Even at its warmest equatorial point on its warmest day, it rarely creeps above freezing. A thin atmosphere traps almost no heat, which means nights are brutally, planet-wide cold. The third obstacle, and in many ways the most fundamental, is Mars's missing magnetic field. Billions of years ago, Mars had one, generated by a molten churning core much like Earth's own magnetic field is today. At some point in the ancient past, that internal engine slowed and cooled, and Mars's magnetic field collapsed. Without it, the solar wind, a constant stream of charged particles from the sun, has spent billions of years slowly stripping away the Martian atmosphere directly into space. This is where a scientist named Bruce Jakosky enters the story. Jakosky served as the principal investigator for NASA's MAVEN mission, a spacecraft launched specifically to study how and why Mars lost its atmosphere over geological time. In 2018, Jakosky and his research team published findings addressing one of the most popular terraforming proposals directly: the idea of releasing carbon dioxide trapped in the Martian polar ice caps and soil to thicken the atmosphere and trigger a runaway greenhouse warming effect, similar to warming trends studied here on Earth. Jakosky's team calculated, using data gathered directly from MAVEN's atmospheric measurements, exactly how much carbon dioxide actually remains accessible on Mars today in the polar caps, bound up in surface minerals and adsorbed into the soil itself. Their conclusion was sobering. Even if every scrap of retrievable carbon dioxide on Mars were released into the atmosphere simultaneously, using entirely hypothetical, maximally efficient technology, it would only raise atmospheric pressure to a small fraction of what would be needed to make the surface stably warm enough for liquid water, let alone breathable for humans. The carbon dioxide terraforming has always been the most frequently proposed method, and Jakosky's research effectively closed that particular door, at least using currently known reserves and currently imaginable technology. This finding reshaped the terraforming conversation considerably, but it did not end it. Planetary scientist named Chris McKay, who has spent much of his career at NASA Ames Research Center specifically modeling planetary habitability, has argued for decades that terraforming Mars remains scientifically plausible over long enough timescales, even if Jakosky's carbon dioxide numbers hold up. McKay's modeling work, developed across multiple papers going back to the 1990s, explores biological approaches rather than purely chemical or physical ones, introducing genetically engineered extremophile organisms, similar to bacteria that already survive in Earth's harshest deserts and ice sheets, that could theoretically begin altering Martian soil chemistry and slowly building an oxygen-producing ecosystem from the ground up, layer by layer, decade by decade. McKay's timescale for this kind of biological terraforming is measured not in decades but in centuries, likely somewhere between several hundred and 1,000 years, even under highly optimistic assumptions. This detail matters enormously for the specific 100-year question, because it points to a recurring theme across nearly every serious terraforming proposal. The chemistry and physics required to transform an entire planet operate on timescales that dwarf a single human lifetime, regardless of which specific methods scientists model. Not every scientist agrees that Jakosky's numbers are the final word, however. Robert Zubrin, an aerospace engineer and longtime advocate for Mars settlement through his organization the Mars Society, has published direct rebuttals arguing that Jakosky's calculations undercounted the total carbon dioxide locked away in deeper subsurface reservoirs that current orbital instruments cannot fully measure. Zubrin has also argued that importing volatile-rich material from elsewhere in the solar system, ammonia-rich asteroids or icy moons redirected toward Mars using engineered impacts, could supplement whatever carbon dioxide already exists locally, potentially closing the atmospheric gap Jakosky identified. This disagreement is worth sitting with for a moment, because it illustrates something important about how real science actually works on a question this large. There is no single settled answer here. There is a genuine ongoing scientific debate between researchers using different assumptions, different measurement techniques, and different views about what future technology might eventually make possible. That debate itself is part of what makes this question scientifically alive rather than settle. There is a fourth approach worth mentioning, one that sidesteps the atmosphere thickening problem entirely and instead targets the radiation and atmospheric stripping problem at its root. In 2017, a NASA scientist named Jim Green, then head of the agency's Planetary Science Division, proposed at a scientific conference an idea that sounds almost like science fiction. Position a large magnetic shield generator at the Mars L1 Lagrange point, a gravitationally stable location directly between Mars and the Sun, creating an artificial magnetosphere that would deflect the solar wind around the entire planet, mimicking the natural magnetic shield Mars lost billions of years ago. Green's own modeling suggested that with atmospheric stripping halted, Mars's existing atmosphere could actually begin thickening on its own over time, as whatever carbon dioxide remains trapped in the polar caps sublimates naturally into the now protected atmosphere above it. This proposal remains firmly speculative, closer to a feasibility sketch than an engineering plan, but it represents a genuinely different strategy, protecting what Mars already has rather than trying to import or manufacture new atmosphere from scratch. There's a related danger worth understanding here too, one separate from atmosphere and temperature entirely. Without a magnetic field, Mars's surface receives significantly more cosmic radiation and solar particle radiation than Earth's surface does. Radiation that Earth's own magnetic field, generated by our planet's still active molten core, deflects away from us constantly, mostly invisibly, every single day. Long-term human habitation on Mars, even inside domes with a thicker artificial atmosphere someday, would still require substantial radiation shielding, likely meters of soil, water, or specialized material layered over any human living space, adding yet another engineering burden on top of the atmospheric and thermal ones already discussed. It is worth pausing on why McKay's biological terraforming timeline runs so long, because the reasoning connects to something that already happened once before, on a planet much closer to home. Billions of years ago, Earth's own atmosphere contained essentially no free oxygen at all. Early photosynthetic microorganisms, cyanobacteria, began slowly producing oxygen as a byproduct of their metabolism. And it took those organisms roughly 2 billion years of continuous, planet-wide biological activity to transform Earth's atmosphere into something an oxygen-breathing animal could eventually survive in. Geologists call this transition the Great Oxidation Event, and it stands as the only real precedent humanity has for biology reshaping an entire planetary atmosphere from the ground up. McKay's proposed Martian bacteria would not need anywhere near 2 billion years, since Mars starts from a very different chemical baseline than early Earth did, and modern genetic engineering can theoretically accelerate processes that unfolded through blind evolutionary trial and error the first time around. But even compressed by orders of magnitude, McKay's own published estimates still land in the centuries to millennium range rather than anywhere close to a single human lifetime. The Great Oxidation Event is, in a strange way, a reminder that atmospheres are not just chemistry problems. They are biology and geology problems too, operating on timescales that dwarf ordinary human planning by many orders of magnitude. Put all of this together and a clearer picture starts to emerge. The obstacles facing Mars terraforming are not simply a matter of insufficient rocket technology or insufficient funding, the kind of barriers that occasionally do fall quickly once enough money and political will get thrown at them. They are barriers rooted in the sheer scale of planetary chemistry and physics, timescales measured in centuries or longer even under optimistic modeling, and real, unresolved scientific disagreement about whether Mars even has enough raw material to work with using any currently foreseeable technology. There's a middle scenario worth considering too, something short of full planetary terraforming but well beyond a single sealed dome. Some researchers have proposed regional or localized terraforming, focusing engineering effort on a single crater or valley rather than the entire planet at once, using a smaller-scale artificial greenhouse effect confined to that specific region. A large impact crater, for instance, already has a natural rim providing some structural containment, and a localized, contained atmosphere thickening project inside such a basin would require dramatically less total carbon dioxide or engineered biology than atmosphere-wide terraforming would. This kind of regional approach does not solve the full terraforming problem, but it offers a scientifically plausible intermediate step, something that could genuinely fall within a much shorter timeframe than centuries, while still representing something far more ambitious than a simple sealed habitat. This does not mean humans settling Mars within the next 100 years is impossible. It means that settling Mars and terraforming Mars are almost certainly two very different timelines entirely. Small, sealed habitats, domes, underground shelters, engineered greenhouses are a vastly more modest engineering challenge than transforming an entire planetary atmosphere, and most serious researchers expect any near-term human presence on Mars to look far more like a sealed outpost than an open, breathable landscape. So the next time you look up at that small, reddish point of light in the night sky, understand what you are actually looking at. Not a planet 100 years away from becoming a second Earth, but a genuinely open scientific question, one where the world's leading researchers on the subject still disagree with each other about the numbers, the methods, and the timescales involved. Somewhere out there, Mars is still waiting, not for an answer humanity already has, but for one we are still, quite literally, calculating.